Welcome back to the Union Street Podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in and listening today. We have a very special guest in the studio with Tabitha Tripp.
Hey.
Hey, Tabitha.
How's it going?
I'm good. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for inviting me.
I'm excited for our conversation.
Well,
we have an upcoming show
yes, I do.
that I'm very excited about.
Well, I'm excited about it too. I'm also getting very tired.
A lot of preparation, I'm sure.
Lots of preparation. This morning I woke up and I was like, oh, I forgot to send out the press releases. Oh, remember to do that.
Well, this weekend we're having a holiday art sale / show here at Union Street. If you have been in our studio the past, I guess, year or maybe more now at this point, you've definitely seen Tabitha's work. If you didn't know it was hers, well, you've seen her work. You are familiar. Beautiful stuff. Very awesome abstracts. Very colorful. Just, I'm a huge fan. And it's really exciting to be able to have this show now. You've been hanging here. We have more coming. Now we're on the podcast.
Lots more coming.
Yeah.
Lots more.
And you also might be familiar with her from your show at the Marion Cultural and Civic Center.
Yep.
Right? That happened
September and October.
Yeah. So that was cool as well.
Yeah, that was a great space to hang in.
Good.
But I'm used to having a space where there's somebody there. So, it's kind of weird just leaving your artwork to hang for the public to just, look at. I was like, well, nobody's going to ask questions or, there's nobody there to look over the work and answer questions. So Sunday I will be here and you can ask all kinds of questions.
Yeah. So can you tease a little more about this upcoming show and what people might be able to expect?
So predominantly what I'm bringing is the work from the last year, which has been abstract in nature and extremely colorful. So over the past year, I've really taken a deep dive into cold wax and oil. And the process for me has been quite prolific. I paint a lot now. It's what I've dedicated every day to doing, is going to the studio and painting, if not a little, a lot. And so folks can look forward to seeing lots of colorful abstract work, more geometric in nature, I'd say. It's not so atmospheric as some pieces, even though there's kind of a blend starting to happen now, and I'm bringing that stuff with me on Sunday. So the cold wax is, it's a medium that it's beeswax mixed with mineral spirits and Damar varnish. And so it makes this like buttercream texture and consistency when you mix it with oil paints. And it's just so much fun to work with. And for me, it brings so much joy. And it's like, I keep every day, I'm just like, I love this. I love this. I love this. I love this, and like, it's really, I hope that people see that when they see my artwork, that they see that there's a lot of joy in it. Because when I left the environmental work and the activism, there was a lot of sadness. There was a lot of upset. There was a lot of anger and hurt, just simply because activism and what's happening in the world today, justice isn't being served. So, that was coming out, but I think you can see that transition has really started to take shape over the past definitely 6 months. It's gotten a lot more colorful. So.
Yeah, I love the color. I love the pieces that we have here in the studio already, and I'm excited to see some of the newer ones as well. Yeah. I know one of my favorite pieces that we have here is Paradise, and that's a similar process in creation, right?
Well, that one is an encaustic. And so the difference between the Paradise, it's a hot wax process where the Damar varnish, beeswax, and pigment is actually blended together and melted, and it's fused with heat or flame. And so that process I've kind of steered away from, mostly because I don't have adequate space and ventilation. And without having adequate ventilation, it tends to be a little bit more dangerous on myself, neurologically speaking. And so I've kind of steered away from those things just until I can have a big studio. I don't think that'll ever happen, but it's, we can dream big.
Yeah, sure.
But so yeah, Paradise and a couple. The moon eclipse or the eclipse moon. I'm not sure what the title is anymore.
Beautiful piece.
Yeah, well, that one, the base on it is actually a hot wax and caustic, and then I went over the top of it with cold wax. So, there's a way to blend and move through those pieces from encaustic to cold wax, but I'm just not doing a whole lot of hot wax anymore, even though it's fun.
Yeah, sure.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, so. It's beautiful work.
Thank you.
And is there anything that we can pull up at all? Can we get a tease of some of the imagery? I know we've put out a graphic for the event. Can we pull that up?
You can pull that up. Yeah. Okay. Feel free to pull that up. And you can also, I haven't put, so most of the stuff I've been working on for the past month, I'm not putting on my website. So this is like an in-person only kind of show. And whatever's left will go on the website. So this is kind of like, this is my offer to the community around here is like, this stuff isn't going on the website. This is for you all.
Yeah.
So some of the stuff I've been doing from my Facebook page is probably or my Instagram is people were asking for smaller pieces because a lot of my stuff, like, Paradise is 3 foot by 3 foot, right? Yeah. And Eclipse Moon is, I think, 30 by 30. So those are bigger pieces and you have to have a bigger wallet. So I heard what
bigger wall space to hang
bigger
it
wall
on,
space, right? A lot of people are short on space too. Yeah, tiny homes are a thing.
Yeah.
So I heard what people were saying at the Carbondale show. And that was, I would love a piece, but I don't have space for it. I would love a piece or I can't afford that. And I heard it, so I'm making 4x4s, 5x7s, 8x10s, smaller sizes. So these are all like stocking stuffer sizes, something people can afford in the price range, $100 or less. I'll have my bigger stuff there. I'll have the things from the Carbondale show I'll be bringing over. So there's going to be like a wide variety of prices as well as sizes.
But for anybody wanting to have a Tabitha Tripp piece, this makes it a lot more accessible.
Very.
I think that's amazing.
Well, and that's what I want. I mean, I don't want to only have this exclusive club of Tabitha. No, that's not what this is about. And, the other thing is if there's a really big piece that people are interested in, just talk to me. Let's have a conversation, make payments. I can work with people. I'm not a stick in the mud.
No, it's great. And you've worked with me on a lot of stuff and, I'm just very appreciative of, the art that you've shared, and I mean it just adds so much to our space here. So I just want to say thank you for sharing your art with us and letting
I'm just glad there's a space to hang it because there's a shortage of space. Cristado's hasn't opened back up, and so that was a space to hang art. And it's like, so where are people doing art shows? So it's kind of hard to find spaces for 2-dimensional art. There's just not a lot of wall space. And as you know, it takes overhead and it takes commitment to have 2-dimensional art space. So there's not that much around.
Absolutely.
So I appreciate you letting me hang it.
Yeah, well, we're excited and it's going to be an awesome time. We have the graphic here. Can you talk a little bit about what we're looking at here?
So Anybody those are listening? The littles. Those are 4x4s. And I have 5 of the 4x4s. I mean, literally, these are just panels I've had for a while. So, and then there's 6x6s. Is that Instagram?
Let me pull up Instagram. So I just love the texturing you've got going here. Here's your Instagram.
Yeah.
Is there one we want to look at?
So if you want to, that first one on that one there. There'd be a series in there.
Okay.
So these are just, there's graffito, there's stenciling, and there's texture with wax paper. They were just so much fun to make, and they're still sitting there. I'll be sad when they're gone, to be honest. but they're just sweet little pieces that people can get the idea. Yeah, I mean, that one has really grown on me. Yeah. It really has grown on me because I didn't try to push it to being finesse. It's more rough in nature.
I love it.
Thank you.
I want this one.
But and also
beautiful work.
But if you haven't seen the last prior to the Littles work, I was working a lot just with oranges and transparent orange and some turquoisey color. And people were like, well, you really love that color. And I'm like, yeah, I am kind of. And then, and I was embarrassed. I was like, I probably need to start branching out and exploring color a little bit more. So I've got a purple piece, I've got a green piece, I've got lots of lime green pieces, just really trying to push my comfort zone of color, what I felt comfortable working with. So
it's awesome work. Again, just really, really fantastic stuff. Can you walk me through some of the behind the scenes of creating something like this? So you go to the studio.
I go to the studio. So first of all, you got to have your supplies, right? So this is painted on a panel board, just a 3/4 inch panel board. And you tape the edges of it. You get a nice layer of gesso on it. And then you put down a layer of wax, let it dry. Put down a layer of, when I say wax, I mean cold wax medium and oil paint. And you put it down and you let it dry. And so that's probably 7 or 8 layers. It's not a lot of layers. I mean, some of the other layers you might see, I've got probably close to 50 or 60 layers on. So these are a lot simpler, but that's also the joy of it. Mm-hmm. So, I lay a layer down with a brayer and then with a squeegee. And then I might use a little bit of a reduction technique with wax paper. And then I might lay down a stencil and lay another color on. And then I use a sgraffito or a tool to scrape into. That's what you see the scribbles are about.
I love all the texturing and the layering. It adds a lot of depth. There's so much. You could just dive into all your pieces seem like you could just get lost inside the details and how textured they are, really. And you could just stare at it for a long time. And I love that.
I think you can.
I do. I do. With the pieces we have here, I just catch myself getting almost lost. You can almost get lost in some of these pieces, just taking in all that texture.
I think that's the goal is I want people to get lost because I think it's important that we're able to just space out for a little bit. And it's proven to do nothing, not on your phone, to just space out for a little bit is actually a really good break for the brain. So that's what I would hope some of these would achieve.
Absolutely. Well, it's well done. And I just really love it. So will these all be available?
Yes.
At this show. So
yes.
If you're seeing some of these, come on Sunday and see them in person.
Yeah.
Meet Tabitha and
Please
pick
do.
one of these up.
Well, and a lot of this stuff is once it's good and dry, it's not a problem to touch it. There's that thing, don't touch the artwork. I'm not going to, I don't think we're going to make it to that archival phase of life that everybody's like, oh my gosh, this is Tabitha Tripp. No, freaking fall in love with this stuff. Touch it, feel what it's like. Because there is a lot of texture in it. I think it would be kind of cool to get more texture in it just so people can actually just have the tactile sensation as well as the visual sensation. Mm-hmm. So
I think it's fascinating. I think it's really great.
Yeah, these will be available. There's probably another 20 to 24 more that are only 5x7, which is just a little bit bigger than this. They'll be on paper and they'll be in sleeves, plastic sleeves for folks. So, yep. I'll have a lot.
Yeah.
There will be a lot of artwork. It'll be all over the table.
Yeah, love that. And you were able to actually be a part of our art fair of this past year. Do you remember?
Yeah. In May.
We did.
Rainy day.
Yeah. We had to move inside last minute because of a rainstorm.
Oh my God. It rained so hard that day too. It was hitting the side of the building. It was is it coming through?
Yeah. So if you're at the art fair, you've probably seen Tabitha's work as well.
Yep.
So, again, just some of my favorite stuff. And, again, the texturing and the coloring is just really, I just love it. I really do.
Well, if you compare this to what's on your walls out there that I brought back from Mexico, you can see just the transition in just the few short months from my trip. Mm-hmm. I just feel I've grown a lot in the last, 6 months in my work, but I would I would hope that the teacher down there in Mexico would say the same thing. I don't know. I haven't asked him.
Yeah. So can we talk about your trip to Mexico?
Yeah.
Okay. So it sounds like, that was a big deal for you, right? As a growing moment, learning moment.
Yes.
Can we talk about that?
Yeah. So as a professional, whether, it was in activism, and I consider myself a professional activist because I was constantly doing trainings, whether it was through, legal aid workshops or whether it was a medical training, you constantly, as a professional, you want to continue to go to school and keep training yourself to be better, right? Doctors do it, lawyers do it. As a massage therapist, I had to have continuing education. As an artist, I think you should have continuing education too. Don't be so hot-headed to think that you know everything. And I was just like, well, this cold wax is kind of cool stuff. I was liking it. I was playing with it. But I felt like I needed some training in it. And mostly because my background has been in landscape. Most of my life, I painted landscapes and flowers. And so for me to make this switch to doing more abstract stuff, it was kind of like, hey, what am I doing? And I felt uncomfortable and unsure. So I decided to sign up for a class. And I thought, what better in the middle of wintertime to go to Mexico? So it was fabulous. San Miguel de Allende, Mexico is where I went. And not only that, I love just the culture down there. It was absolutely beautiful. The colors, the scenery, the food, the people, everything. It was wonderful. But learning from Jerry McLaughlin from the Cold Wax Academy, he lives down there now. It was just like that experience, that hands-on experience, like him holding my hand with the squeegee and saying, this is how much pressure you put. This is how you use the brayer. This is, you're too heavy-handed. That in-person learning, you can't learn that over the internet.
That's hands-on.
It's hands-on. It's all hands-on. And I think the biggest thing for me, though, is like we're sitting there in the class and it was like the second or third day. And I think the comment was like, what are you doing? Where's your voice? It wasn't to me directly. It was like to all 13 people in the class or whatever it was, the number was. And I was like, I don't know where my voice is. And I was just like, oh, and on the inside, your inner critic just was like, yeah, you don't know anything. Like, what do you think you're doing here? You think you're an artist? This is imposter syndrome, and I was just like, and I just like had to have a cry because it's at that point, it's like, what are you doing? Like, you just spent time, money, effort to get down here, and it's questioning yourself. Like, what are your intentions? Where are you going with this? Even though I had decided in 2019, I was going to really apply myself as an artist and start to build my business as an artist, because that's what I've wanted to be my entire life. I really wanted to be an artist ever since I can remember. And at what point do you decide to really be the thing you ever wanted to be? I was like, well, I'm just turned 50 this year. It's about time I start doing the thing I want to be. So it just kind of made me step back and think about, what are my intentions? Where am I going with this? How do I get a clearer voice? How do I say and express what it is that's really what's on my mind and in my heart through my paintings? And I don't have the answer to that, but I do feel like that's still, like, I'm evolving. I'm still growing. And continue education is a way to continue to grow. But hopefully when you all come see my stuff on Sunday, you can see like the evolution between what we put on the walls in the very beginning, Paradise and some of the other pieces, and you can see like that evolution. So if nothing more, just come see the evolution of the art.
Absolutely. So, and going down there, it sounds like almost kind of, deconstructing your own preconceived idea about, what art you're making. You talked about maybe, your imposter syndrome of why am I doing this? Mm-hmm. Was there a moment there that something clicked for you Was there a shift or change in your mentality there?
I don't think there was a shift or a change in the mentality. I'm very stubborn. And so it's kind of like, I'm going to get this. I'm going to figure this out. And I'm not going to quit.
Perseverance.
Perseverance, I think, is the thing.
Determination.
No, not me. No, definitely. It's always, that's me. I'm stubborn, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm tenacious, very tenacious. And I think, I'm not going to let whether it's abstract or landscape stand in my way of finishing the thing that I want to finish. And, but this is not something I want to finish right now. I want this to go until I reach the grave, So, I think the biggest takeaway is like, hell yeah, I'm worth this. I'm worth going to a class in San Miguel, Mexico. I'm worth taking my time out, doing the things that I need to do to put my studio time first. That's like setting your priorities. And that was a priority for me, right? Going to Mexico was a priority. Learning, abstract cold wax from the Cold Wax Academy was a priority for me. I think to me, it proves that I can do anything that I set my mind to.
It's such a valuable endeavor to go on, sounds like.
Oh, I can't wait to go back. I cannot wait to go back.
Round 2?
Definitely. Definitely there would be a round 2. There's been a couple of more classes. I'm just like, I'm going to have to sell more paintings to go. But
well, that's gives you more drive to get those sold and, just keep the process unfolding.
Yep.
Keep learning, hopefully, right?
I don't see how you can't not learn. I feel like I've painted landscapes and florals for so long. It's like, I was kind of bored with it. So this is like a whole new world to me. By the time abstracts are one thing, colorful abstracts are another. It's like, well, you just want to focus on color. You just want to focus on the abstract part. We're like, there's so much juiciness to explore. And so that's where I'm at, exploring the juiciness.
Love that.
Yeah.
In life, to get the juice, you got to sometimes squeeze.
Oh, you got to squeeze hard.
Right?
You got to squeeze hard.
The juice, but that juice could be so sweet.
It will be.
Yeah.
And it has been.
That's amazing.
So I'm just so full of joy, like colors and just the playfulness of the nature of the medium that I'm using right now without the constraints of trying to make it look like a flower or look like a landscape. It's like, wow, mind blowing, freedom. That's wonderful.
I was thinking that sounds so freeing.
It is. But it's so hard. And my daughter, so she's also, both my kids are very artistic, but her art school teacher is like, hey, I want Cozy to try to apply for the scholarship. It's, she needs 6 pieces. Can she do it in wax? And my daughter's like, you make it look so easy. And I was like, yeah, it looks easy. But when you start to take the elements of design and color theory and apply that into a 2-dimensional surface and try to make it all come together, it's not easy. It's a lot of freaking work. But there's no other work I'd rather do. So.
Can you talk about a little more into that process of getting these things to come to life? I know you talked about maybe some of the technical, but more how you're working with the color and the wax and how do you get it to behave the way you want it to when you think, oh, okay, this piece is done or this piece feels right.
So that seems to be always the fun question to ask, right? Is how do you know when a piece is done? I don't. I may think it's done, and then I might sit on my wall or hang on my wall for 2 months, and I'll be like, hey, there's something. I need to do something there, and I can go back in. It's not a big deal, But the process is just as much inside as it is outside. right? If there's a lot of clatter going on in the brain, if there's like been some drama, if there's been some interaction that doesn't feel good, I tell you what, the paintings aren't going to look good that day. The painting's not going to flow. The mixing's not going to happen. The colors are going to be off. Like, so there is a point at which you just have to go, okay, flipping off, whatever's happened outside. And it's just like going to a regular job, right? You have to change your shoes, put on your, Mr. Rogers coat and step into your office and do your work for the day. You have to leave some of the other things outside the door. So I think that's one of the big things that I don't know if struggling is the word, I am working through right now, and leaving some of that stuff outside the studio. And I think, I think about Joe down at the art gallery off the square in Vienna, who also, if y'all haven't been to the Vienna Art Gallery yet, please go. It's right across the street from the post office. Joe is not from Southern Illinois. Joe is amazing, and Joe is bringing in all these other artists who are doing pretty cool stuff, and he's got a big old studio in the back. But he's like, every time I go into the studio, I have to sit down, and I have my altar, and I put all my worries, all my thoughts, all my prayers on the altars before I go to work. And I'm thinking, I don't have that big of a space, but maybe I need to start that little ritual every day before I even get the paint out. So I think that that's the first thing that happens before paint ever gets smeared around. It's like just centering yourself and getting in the headspace for the work. And then the paintings tend to come better if there is that headspace of positivity, of open-mindedness, of, if there's a channel of love flowing. And I don't want to sound like hippy-dippy, but it kind of is that, right? Yeah. Like if you're all closed up and your shoulders are tense and you're, I don't know, your dog ate your favorite pair of Birkenstocks, I don't know. Like, it's not going to make your day, like, probably shouldn't paint that day. Just go back to the kitchen and cook or whatever it is, or go for a walk in the woods, whatever your thing is. Because if it's not flowing, it's just not going to flow. And I don't when I force it, it's ugly. It's ugly. That stuff ain't coming here. and believe me, we make ugly stuff all the time.
Sure.
So it's not like it's all pretty. It's not all woo. Some of it's just like, just like put it to the side. I hope I didn't see that. Nobody saw that, did they? It's embarrassing because then at the same time, you're just like, really? That I thought it was better than that. And so then you have this inner critic kind of blah, 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 blah going on. So I think that's part of the process of getting into the flow. And then the other question is like, how do you know when it's done? Does your eye move through the painting, or does it stagnate one place? Is there certain places in the painting that, they just like fingernails on a chalkboard, they grate you the wrong way? And if you want it to grate you like that, fine, mission achieved. But if it's not that, I don't really like to grate people that way. Like not in this work right now. So that's a question you would ask yourself. Like, do the colors work? Do you have the values in there? Are you pushing the spectrums from light to dark, from the color values? Do you have, if all your colors are on there, I think that's pretty vibrant on the screen in front of me. But you have lights and darks, and they're pushing back and forth, right? Do you have warms and cools? And is your eye moving in and out as well as around the painting? So there's a lot of things that you would want to assess if it's done. And those are all questions we have to ask ourselves.
Sounds like there's a natural correlation from finding a flow within your own self to be able to translate that into your art as well. And if you're not where you think you need to be and have that self-awareness, that it might not come through, and that will be represented within the art piece itself. Yeah,
definitely. You'd find a place of stagnation somewhere in that painting. They're just it's not resonating the right way. The vibration's off.
I think that's a really good point to make, as you go into making anything.
Yeah.
It's like, where are you at in that moment?
Yep.
I think that's a really good point.
Yeah, make sure your music's, like, you and your music are jiving. That usually helps too.
Yeah, sure. Help you get in the right flow.
Right.
And that it can, express through you that way.
Yep. It's nothing more than chemistry, right? There's the chemistry that you feel with people. There's the chemistry that you feel with anything, and making sure that chemistry is spot on. If it's not, it's a little sour, a little bitter.
Yeah.
It's a little off.
Sure.
So those are all things that, as I learn more about myself in this process, like, I got a degree in art. Like, that was back in 1996, right? That was a long time ago. And I'm just now actually applying myself in a studio space. Like, I get up in the morning. I was down there by 6:45 this morning, right? So, like, though I have never applied myself in the studio space as I have for the last 2 years to, like, in this way. So how are you, what am I doing? Like, what are my goals this week? What are you trying to get done? There's marketing, there's website management, there's working in the studio, there's the framing aspect, there's, the actual, like, sales part of all of that stuff. It's all on my shoulders. So it's not like something I'm just like, whatever, I don't feel like going to work today. You can't do it. It's a job. Mm-hmm. But it's something I love to do. So it's easy to get down there at 6:45.
Can you talk a little bit about that, just how that, even like having your own space, creating your own space to do that, how that has benefited you? And was there something that caused you to make that decision?
To create that space, it's dedication. I've set a goal, and I'm going to grow up and be an artist, right? And I'm just now making that goal happen. But how do you do it? You don't do it sitting on the couch looking at Facebook. You have to go to the studio every day. So it's setting the goals. It's being dedicated to it. It's not any different than saying, I'm going to lose 30 pounds. You don't do it by walking in the fridge. You do it by getting up and exercising and, doing workout routines. So it's that same sort of dedication and mindset. I'm going to do it. Of course, you can't beat yourself up if you don't make it one day, right? Kids kids are sick. I can't do it today. So same difference. But if you don't set it as a priority in your life, then I don't know how else you're going to get there. Right? Before, it was kids, it was family, it was activism, it was, building the house. Like, all of those things got in the way of me actually becoming the artist that I am right now. So I have a dedicated studio space. I am luckier and privileged than many people. But maybe all it takes is a corner of your bedroom and you set up your space there. Like, it's setting up a dedicated space and a dedicated time to apply yourself to the thing that is a priority to you. So if that's what I could tell anybody who's aspiring to be an artist, that's what I would say. Dedicate time, dedicate a space. That way you don't have to clean it up all the time, right? It can stay messy or not, like whatever your jam is. But those are the things you have to do. It's like, set it as a priority and dedicate yourself to that time space that you've set as a priority. Or you're not going to get there. Sorry. I'm not going to sugarcoat this. You won't get there. You just won't. So.
It's true.
Yeah. I think that this can be said for anything, right? It's not just art. But so many people are like, oh, I just don't have the time. Well, you're not making the time. If you don't have the time, and then maybe it's not a priority for you, then stop beating yourself over the head. If it's not a priority, it's okay. It's not a bad thing. raising 2 kids, building a house, fighting fracking was a priority for me. It was a way bigger priority than creating an art business. So, and now those priorities changed.
Well, it's awesome to see some of the fruits of that.
Yeah.
And, like you gave the analogy of, somebody wanting to lose 30 pounds. That's not a one-day thing.
Oh, no.
Right?
It takes time.
It's not an easy thing either.
No. It's
a lot of challenging.
You need a support team.
Yeah.
Whether it's losing weight or whether, it's creating an art business, you still need a support team. You need a support network. That would be another thing I would add to that. You build your support network. Because you don't want a bunch of negative nannies around you. You can't do that. Mm. Oh, whatever. You only be an artist when you're dead. I hate that saying. Like, oh, you'll only be famous when you're dead. I'm like, no, I'm not accepting that.
Yeah. I'm alive now. I want to do it now.
I want to enjoy it now.
Yeah. When I'm dead, I
need to feed my ego now. Yeah. And it says fame now.
Yeah.
So those are, it's one of the things I applied from being an activist was I got up every day. I did the thing that I needed to do every day. I went downstairs and I got into, which is the office was my studio. So can you imagine? It was all paperwork. It was all files. It was boxes and boxes of whatever campaign I was working on or campaigns. But I did it every day. And when I was talking to my friend Karen Fiorino, who does pottery and is very successful, I said, you know what? If I just apply myself to my art as I have been to my activism for the last 9 years, I shouldn't have a problem. And she's like, no, that's exactly what you need. Dedication to your art in the same way you've dedicated the last 9 years of your life to activism. And I was like, oh, I got this. I can do it. So.
That's great.
It's been, God, I've already been out of activism for like two or 3 years now. So, yeah, it's so much more fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Was there a shift that happened from, or a reason you said, okay, now I'm going to give myself to this art? I mean, you've kind of touched on it, but is there any?
So I was leaving activism anyway. I needed to take a break for some pretty severe health reasons. And I needed to just completely take a break. I wasn't for sure what was going to happen. But for health reasons, I did need to completely withdraw and take care of myself. My dad died on November 13th, 2019. On December 31st was my last day with SAFE, the organization I was working with. And so my intentions were, after December 31st, I was going to help take care of my father, who was suffering from Alzheimer's. But he didn't make it that long. And so I was like, wow, life is really short. It's stupid short. Our time here is so infinitesimally small. It's like, what am I doing? The thing that I really wanted to be was an artist, and I'm not doing it. What the hell am I waiting for? And so it was like my dad's death, my slow decline of health to a chronic condition, that I was like, if I don't do it now, I may not get to do it. So do it, right? It took my dad's dying to really push me into that place. It was like, life is too damn short. Hurry up. Hurry up and do the things that you love. Find the joy. Find the things that bring you the most joy and drive your passion, and bring all that yummy goodness, right? That the succulent, juicy stuff, right? You like, because what else is life about? There's some crappy things that life is about, but that's not what I want to focus on. So yeah, that was the little switch, is my health, my dad died, and I was like, life is short. It's too damn short. So that's why I'm here.
Well, kudos to you for having the bravery to make that step.
Yeah.
That's a big step.
Is it?
Sure.
I'm like, in my mind, it's like, it's really a simple step. I was like, what were you thinking? But no, thank you for acknowledging that. Yeah. It was a step. And it's scary.
Most people don't make that step.
Well, why? Why don't they make that step? Because they're afraid. And why are they afraid? Because they don't have a support network, or they don't believe in themselves, or, I don't know. There's we give ourselves so many excuses to not do the things that we love the most. And then we give ourselves that space to get out of it. Like, why are we doing that? Why? Fear of failure? Fear of success? I don't want to be afraid of succeeding. I want to succeed. So.
Absolutely.
So.
I want to see you succeed.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there's some, like, those are the things that like have pushed me to this point of where I am now. I mean, like, I've had some remarkable experiences. I met wonderful people. Like, and I wouldn't trade them for the world. But this is who I've always thought I would become. Like, I wanted to be an artist. That's what why not? Right? You always, you want your kids to succeed, to grow up to be the thing that they always wanted to be, to do the thing that, like, make their dreams come true. Well, now I'm like mothering myself and saying, yeah, make your dreams come true. I'm here. Let's do it. How can I support you? And like, that's a dialogue that was this morning in my head. It was like, how can I support myself on this journey? How can I be more supportive of myself in this journey to becoming a successful artist? And it's like, I don't know. Well, I'll have to think about that. Okay, well, I'm going to do an interview this afternoon with Luke. That ought to be fun, and just like things like that. Like, how do you create that space for yourself to become more successful and support yourself along the way?
I think on the right track, obviously there's a lot of somewhat discipline. Like, you go to the studio every day. Just showing up is a big part. Mm-hmm. But be kind to yourself and don't beat yourself up too much.
No.
Something that is big,
It's huge. It's huge. And I'm not going to fool you. There was a day, I think it was about 10 days ago. Oh my gosh. I could not shut up the inner critic. She was so ugly. She was so loud. Yeah. And I was just like, I texted my sister and I was like, the inner critic will not shut up. And she's like, tell that, just slap her.
Seriously. Yeah.
I was like, that was the day I actually had to like just stop myself. And I'm like, I think this is going off because I'm tired and I need to rest. Mm-hmm. I need to give myself that space. So yeah, you have to be kind to yourself, or otherwise it's not going to go well at all.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
and it starts there, I think.
Yep.
And just being aware, self-awareness, like being aware that, this critic inside is at the driver's seat right now. So I'm just going to be aware of that and not let it, get me off the rails too much, Well,
I think the thing is to ask that inner critic, and this would be helpful for everybody, is like, what is that inner critic trying to protect you from? And this is a podcast I've been listening to. It's a video I've been learning about, through Cold Wax Academy. It was like, what is the inner critic trying to tell me? What are they afraid of? What's happened that this is so loud right now? And, it's because I only sold one piece at the Carbondale show. And I was like, why aren't people buying artwork? And then my inner critic just was like, because it's no good. It's ugly, so it would start like that. And then it would just kind of snowball, right? And instead of like saying, well, what's the fear? What's the problem? Like, I just let it snowball and I couldn't get it to shush up. So I think if we stop and just ask our inner critic, and this could go beyond art too, right? Like, what is it you're afraid of? What are you trying to say? What's underneath that fear or, the critic screaming at you? And start to like actually ask those questions of yourself. You have to be willing to hear the answer and then have that conversation. Right? Is it because I'm not good enough? No, probably not. But this is bringing me joy. So it's not about being good enough. This is about my joy.
That's amazing pursuit, right? I think if anything, just that pursuit of joy and just interpersonal happiness, I think is, just so you can't really put a value on that, your own inner peace and joy.
Yep. Joseph Campbell, follow your bliss.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's good.
That is a good one. And it's so hard to do. But it's so easy, really. Oh.
Nothing worthwhile is easy.
No. No, and I think here would be the thing also is like when I'm 75, what do I hope? What do I want to look back and see? That I was afraid to do something. So that's the other thing I think, my father's death kind of put things in perspective is like how short, like the entropy at the end of life, right? It goes faster. And, when you were 15, it seemed like it took forever to get between 15 and 21, right? That driver's license and then 21, right? That's like the longest time span on earth. And then that time between me turning 35 and me turning 50 has gone like that. So it's like the entropy is like the fuel behind, how fast 50 to 70 is going to go? It is going to go by so fast. And if you don't make use of that time and do the thing that you really, 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 really love, then what are you doing? And so and I want to be able to say at my 70th birthday, I want to be able to look back and go, wow, I made a lot of freaking art. And some of it maybe wasn't that good, but some of it's really awesome. And if at 70, there's only 10 pieces that are really awesome, wow, that's 10 pieces that are really awesome. So.
And you're well on your way. I mean, I think there's already 10 pieces, like probably a lot more that are awesome already.
You think?
Yes, absolutely. So that's amazing, though, that just be able to just think about that. And wow, you're still going to grow and change, and this will adapt and evolve as time goes. So that's exciting.
I think it's going to be amazing.
Yeah.
Where am I going to put all this stuff?
Well, you can put some here, and we'll see how we can keep selling some, and
right. Well,
going.
Part of me is just like, well, that's the other thing. Like dream-wise is like buildings. That's another dream. I would like to own a gallery space because there are plenty of more of me out there, and there's not enough space.
Yeah.
So, not that I want to encroach on what you got going on here.
No.
What?
The more the merrier.
But more wall space, right? More wall space. We need more wall space.
We need more art everywhere.
Right.
Really?
Right. Every doctor's office you go in has to have artwork on it. Why not make it local art? Every what's the investor's office?
Mm-hmm.
Every insurance broker.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody. They want art on their walls. So why not make it local art?
Absolutely.
So that's part of the thing I would hope that reaching out to people. So they should come Sunday just to see what we got.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think so.
Yeah. And they can take it and put it on their wall.
Yeah.
And, have more, hopefully, wall space. I know everywhere could use art, really.
Really, yeah.
And inspiration and beauty.
Well, if you don't like inspiration and beauty, then what are you doing here?
Yeah, maybe not the right place. But you're still welcome.
Yeah.
To take part and share in it. But yeah, the world needs more of that. And I know you mentioned like there was a love aspect to the art as well, and the world does need more love.
Of course it does,
as well as beauty.
It needs love and tender care. Like what else? Like that's what we got here. We got bright, happy colors, and we're going into winter. Like these can cheer you up.
Absolutely.
I promise. But just aside from that, like I really hope there's a spirit or some sort of a vibrational energy that emits from my art that people will pick up on. That I know that sounds so woo woo, but I really do hope that people feel that good energy. I hope that they feel that, like, yeah, I'm like a little happy ray of sunshine in your room, in your space, in your corner, on your desk, in your bathroom, wherever you're putting it. Like, because who doesn't need that, right?
Yeah.
Who doesn't need a little ray of sunshine every freaking day?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
To soak that in. I want to tell this story about one of the pieces we have here at Paradise. There was an artist visiting from LA. He was actually doing one of the murals and speaking about hoping your art can bring people in and have that, feeling. His name was Kipto. And we were looking at Paradise and he was enthralled, I'm like, you got to get really close to it to like really, just really dive into it with your viewing and just sort of like you mentioned, getting lost in it. And he did, and he was like loving it. And he's like, "Can I touch it?" I'm like, "Yeah, you could touch it." And so he starts touching it, and then he's like, "Can I lick it?" Like, well, if you want to take it back to Los Angeles, we could sell it to you right now. But that's just.
Aren't you glad he didn't?
I am glad he did not. He did not lick it. But that painting, or that piece of art did something for him.
Yeah.
And I think your work does that. Not necessarily that everybody wants to go up and do that to it.
Well, I wouldn't be so afraid of people licking an encaustic work because it does, it's wax. It's not any different than licking a candle, really. But please, do I need to put a disclaimer on my cold wax? Don't lick the cold wax.
I think Kipto's kind of a unique kind of guy. And you shouldn't have to do that. But he just felt the need. He's a very, very talented artist too. So, that work was being appreciated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, the murals up here are so much fun.
So he did the one on the back of the Civic Center.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know that one, but yeah, he came by and that was one of the big thing that he really was into.
That's the only time I've heard somebody say they wanted to lick my artwork.
I know.
Oh, baby. What a pickup line.
Right. Like, okay, all right. But yeah, it's just a funny story. And I always take anybody that comes in, I take them to that piece. And it's always it's just such a cool piece. And they're really blown away by some of again, you said local art made right here.
Right. Right.
And I think that's an awesome thing.
Well, we have so many wonderful artists in the area. Like we have a plethora of artists and craftspeople. I just, every time I turn around, well, there's another one at Fork and Vine. And then there's the Big Muddy. Like there's so many other little pop-up venues that are happening just so people could sell art and the thing that they do. And I'm just like, wow, it's everywhere. It's everywhere. So
yeah, it's great to see.
Yep.
We're going to spread it everywhere. But come here.
Well, yeah.
For this show.
Yeah. Yeah. And people can come. It's free. Right. And I think that's the other thing is like, you don't have to buy anything. You can come and just look at the artwork.
Yeah.
Like, what else are you going to do? It's kind of going to be yucky out. So, enjoy some artwork.
Yeah. I think it's great. And if anybody wants to follow you, can you tell them where they can find your work? I know none of these pieces were on your website. I know you've got a website where people can purchase items,
right.
But is there can we plug any of your socials and your website or any other place that they can find your work?
So they can find my work at the gallery down in Vienna, the art gallery off the square. They're open, I think, Friday and Saturday right now until Christmas, anyways. But the number's on the door, so if you get down there on a weird day, just call the number on the door. Joe will let you in. Joe is, like I said, Joe's amazing. You should have him up here, actually, I think. Yeah. He's really a cool guy. So that would be a gallery space, and the Cobden Village Shops in Cobden, right next to Iron Whisk. They've got a small selection of my artwork. And then currently right now until the 30th, when is that, Wednesday? Yeah, Wednesday. Artwork hanging at the Carbondale Library. Here, we have artwork here, and you have a selection all the time anyway. But your hours are kind of just knock or call, right?
Yeah.
And then January and February, they'll be hanging in Harrisburg. I'll be taking some artwork over to the library there. So that's lots of places to find my artwork locally. And if you're not from the area, you can go to tabithatripp.art. Pretty simple, Tabitha Tripp, 2 P's, .art. That's my website. And if you go onto the website, you can sign up for getting my newsletters. And I don't send that many newsletters out. People are like, oh, I don't want emails. I may send out 2 emails a month, maybe. And they're short, believe me. They're 3-minute read. I don't take a lot of time to spend because nobody wants a ton of emails. They just, right?
Sure.
But then you can find my Instagram, Tabitha Tripp Artist, and then I think it's Tabitha Tripp Artist on Facebook too. So you should be able to find me on social media, and you just Google me. It's not me being an activist anymore. It's me being an artist. So Tabitha Tripp Artist is what you should Google.
Yeah. There's a lot of correlation though, I feel like, between, being an activist and an artist.
Yeah.
Would you say?
Yes, I do. And I think the biggest thing is the discipline. Is the drive and the discipline, the motivation, the passion is very similar.
Right. Yeah.
All of those things are very similar. I think in the end, because I was writing grants to pay for the activism I was doing and the campaigns I was working on, I will say that activism was paying a little bit more in the end. But that's okay. I'm doing the thing I love. I mean, not that I didn't love activism, but this is where I was supposed to be.
Absolutely.
Mission accomplished.
Yeah. And things take time to grow too.
Yes. Yeah.
Planting seeds here. Rome wasn't built in a day.
It wasn't?
I don't think so. I don't think so. Yeah.
No. And if I were to, what do they say? It's not the end. It's the journey, not the end point, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's a journey. So.
Absolutely.
So what else do you want to know?
Is there anything else you want to share? Is there any, anything you think we didn't cover? Any messages you want to send to the people out there?
I think the other thing I want to share with people is I will have a few pieces from my Missing and Murdered Indigenous Peoples project. And this project is one of my abstract conceptual pieces that focuses on missing and murdered Indigenous people. And the reason that I've created this project is that I have a friend who is a First Nations Anishinaabe person. They're two-spirited, meaning that they identify with both male and female gender. And they are dealing with cancer. And this is the 3rd year. It's ongoing. It's a struggle. They have completely wiped out their reserves. They've filed for bankruptcy. And so part of this project, proceeds go to help Cedar. And so anybody that purchases one of the missing and murdered Indigenous people and their hashtag MMMIP on my website, and if people don't know, missing and murdered Indigenous people, it's not something that's highlighted, right? It's a epidemic of sorts to the Indigenous communities. What happens is oftentimes extraction companies will come into Indigenous communities, and Indigenous people go missing. They're human trafficked. And so in honor of Cedar, and in order to help Cedar, I've created this series. I'll have a new piece up on Sunday. I just finished a piece today. I'm pretty excited about it. Any proceeds, though, go to Cedar. And so to help them out through their cancer treatment and post-cancer rehabilitation, surgery, upcoming surgery too. So that's an important piece to me. And in that way, I feel like I'm still an activist. And in that way, I feel like I'm still supporting and on a campaign. I hope to be able to use my platform in order to bring attention to this issue, because it's not going away. And as you know, there's the boarding school issue, which is an atrocity that has happened to Indigenous people, where Indigenous children were removed from their homes, from their community, and taken to boarding schools, and many of them didn't return. There's a number that it could be as high as 25,000 children were taken and didn't return.
My goodness.
Many more were taken, right? And they returned. But there are some estimates that it could be as many as 25,000. So I also have a piece about that that I'll be bringing on Sunday. But these are important things that I think that previously an activist, now an artist, that I can use my platform to help shed some light on it and also help people in need. So I would hope that people would enjoy the series. The thing about them is that you'll see red shapes on a relatively bland background. And in Indigenous communities, if they have lost a loved one and they've gone missing, they'll oftentimes hang out a red article of clothing. And so this is my abstraction of that red article of clothing hanging. So,
wow.
So then
that is such a cause that needs more attention. And so it's awesome to hear that you're using your art and your platforms to be able to shed light on that, because that is not an issue that is talked about, that you see.
Nope.
I haven't seen that.
You haven't? Oh.
Not specifically.
No, it's they just now did, most recently, it was on national, I think it was a Sunday news program. So it's still not exactly what I would call headline national news media attention, about, I think it was Pine Ridge Reservation, one of the schools there. It was a boarding school. Children didn't come home. And so, and I think between that and, the Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women Project in the United States, that's another big thing I just want to try to steer people towards is the MMIW USA. Just you hashtag that. It's there's not enough funding, and I don't have the facts on me. It's not something I shove in my brain anymore, but just remember that the blonde that went missing with her boyfriend a few years ago, and all the news was about it. It's all we heard about it day in and day out, day in and day out. There were 5 Indigenous women per day. Every time that news channel came on, you could list 5 Indigenous people had gone missing. And it didn't get the same response. It doesn't get the same financial backing from. And I don't want to end on the low note, but I think it's equally important that the people know that this is a situation that's going on, and if we can shed light on it and help out our Indigenous brothers and sisters, we should. We owe that to them. We really do. It's ridiculous. Why aren't they getting the help that they need. So do what you can, like that, and that's what I can do. I can make art and bring attention to it. So that's what I'm trying to do, and help out my friend Cedar on top of it.
Well, that's awesome that you're doing that, and got to give you a lot of credit for diving into that. That's not an easy subject.
It's heavy,
and but the only way anything can happen is for people to know, right? I think that's a big part of activism. It's just awareness and getting those types of stories out there.
Yep.
And art, we mentioned earlier on the podcast, but there's a lot of beautiful things about life, and there's a lot of not. There's a lot of not. And so to be able to express both sides, right, and to acknowledge that, and to look at and not sweep it under the rug, I think.
Yep.
I think that's an important thing.
Well, I think one of the interesting conversations I had in Carbondale with a person that I had not met before or seen before, she was drawn to the pieces, and she just walked back and forth, looking at these pieces, and she kept stopping in front of the MMIP. It wasn't until she read my bio that she understood what it was about, and then she came up to me. She says, "I'm Lakota Sioux." And I was like, oh, because part of me was like, there's not very many Indigenous people in the area. And I didn't put trigger warning. And so I felt bad because she saw something completely different. And like, that's the thing I think is most beautiful about making abstract art, is like, people don't necessarily see what you did and what you created. They see what they see, right? It's completely subjective. And what she saw was completely different than what I had perceived in the painting when I created it. And I was like, oh no. And I was like, I was ready to apologize. I was ready to say, I'm sorry. I didn't put a trigger warning on that, And instead she was like, I am so glad you're doing this project. She was, although heartbroken and felt it, what she saw was different, but she was happy it was out there. And it was like humbling to me. And I felt like her approval was important. It really was important. And I did not know her. I didn't know her from and I probably wouldn't know her if she walked in on Sunday. And I hope she does. I hope she sees the next piece. But it was just that, it was humbling, and it felt good that she approved that we were giving light to the subject. So it was a good feeling.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
Even though, it's a hard subject, but representation really matters. It really does.
Yep. So it was worth it. Just that one interaction in Carbondale was worth it.
Wow.
Yeah. Really. Like, nothing else had to happen. Like, but for that person to have seen that meant so much to me. It really did.
Yeah.
And I don't feel like I can even express like how much it meant to me that she was happy that I was getting that word out there. Like, that approval. It was like so much to me. So much. So that feels good.
Yeah.
That feels really good.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So that's how you shut up your inner critic.
Yeah.
Like those nuggets of reality. Like that's it.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. Yep.
That's all. That's wow.
Yeah.
That's
right?
just amazing story. Mm-hmm. Really.
Almost as good as looking at painting.
Yeah. Wow. That's the connection, great art makes you feel and connects, and you create meaning within your own self. And it sounds like that's what happened with that, that moment.
Well, and I don't remember who said it. I'm so bad about quotes, except for Joseph Campbell. Art is meant to disturb. Now, disturb doesn't have to be in a bad way. It can be in a good way. You can be disturbed in a good way. You can be shaken awake. So, mission accomplished. Art disturbed.
Yeah, it's a feeling of being alive, right?
Yeah.
And to be reminded of that, I think that's that's great art at work there.
Yay. Yay.
Really?
I did it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? That's so I hope I can do more of that. I really do. And I hope that let's see, it'll be number 14. MMIP number 14.
Wow.
Or is it 13? I don't remember at this point. It's one of those two numbers, but I can't wait to show it because it's actually getting a little bit more. It's not as tight. I'm feeling more loose about the subject matter, and I think that's going to lead to more expression. So
that's awesome. And having that sort of validation, if you will, within that one moment in Carbondale, that, channel that if you do, that'll be,
yep.
That's sort of, what validates, the whole process you've been doing.
Well, that's the fuel that keeps you going.
Mm-hmm.
And there might be a lot of dry periods coming up, I assume. There's the economic outlook's not real good. So, having those little nuggets is like making sure I've got them wrote down in my notebook. Like when you go back to you're having a crappy day, you flip back and say, here's a nugget, here's a truth, here's a fact. Like that artwork was powerful to an Indigenous person. They said so. So that's a nugget that's a fact you write down that you can counteract those days where you just don't have enough juice to go. So, yep.
That's good. I think that's a journaling and keeping note of that. I think it's good.
Right.
Reference back.
I think that's going to be a big thing. So, yeah. Now I think the biggest thing I have to worry about on Sunday is what kind of refreshments I'm going to bring.
Well, that's a good problem, I guess.
Isn't that an awful problem to have?
Yeah.
So, yeah, at this point, it's the things that I'm wrapping up. I told myself I would give myself until Wednesday. That would be the last layer of paint if I was putting paint on anything. And so painting the edges, putting things in some mats and some sleeves, and bringing them up.
Awesome.
Yeah. I'm just like, oh, goodness.
We're very excited.
I am nervous and excited. Yeah. I'm like, if you would, why am I anxious and nervous? I don't know why, but I am. I'm not going to lie to people. I still get anxious. Every freaking show I have, I get anxious. So I like to say that nerves are good. It means you're doing something that is worth being nervous about. It's like, oh, I'm doing something. Again, that feeling of being alive. Of growth. Yeah. Outside your comfort zone.
So I think nerves are good.
Okay. All right. All right. So yeah, I've got, between the press release and just more marketing of myself. And like I said, the final preps, we're just about to the day. You can't put any more wax on because it won't dry in time. Mm-hmm. And I don't want sticky wax.
Right. Got to let it dry.
The cold wax does dry quicker, though, than oil paint. So that's a good thing.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yep.
Awesome.
So,
well, we're excited.
Well, I am too.
Well, Tabitha, thanks for coming in today.
Well, thanks for having me. Yeah. This was fun.
It has been.
Yeah.
Good conversation.
You should holler at me anytime you want to have a chit chat.
Yeah. We've been talking about having you on the podcast for a while, but now obviously this is, just excited to have you in and excited for the show and just keep doing more stuff and keep sharing more art and keep doing it.
Yep.
Keep doing that.
I'll just keep making joy happen.
Yeah.
All right. Thank
Sounds
you.
Good. All right. Thanks,
Take care.
Tabitha. Okay. Well, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching the Union Street podcast. Thank you, Tabitha Tripp. Come see us on Sunday from 1 to 4. It's going to be an awesome show. Tabitha's work's incredible. Follow her on social media, her website. Support local art. Support local goods this holiday season. This is a great opportunity to do that. And we're very excited. Be on the lookout for more posts as we continue to promote the show and as we continue to release the Union Street podcast. Every Friday at noon Central Standard. Again, Tabitha, thank you for being here. Any last words before we sign off today?
If you can't make the show, tabithatripp.art. Let me know what you think. If there's something you see on my website or if you want me to live stream something to you, just give me a holler.
Awesome.
I'll work with you.
All right. Subscribe. We'll see you in the next one.
All right. Take care.